name's Justin Van Toorn. I'm the president and CEO of Greenheart Gold. We're a junior explorer operating in Guyana and Suriname.
Justin, good to have you over here. You've just flown in from the States.
Yes, a couple of days ago. So, yeah.
Enjoying the conference?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the conference is good. We're getting a lot of interest. It's really an opportunity for us just to explain what we're doing and what the background to the company is. And, we've only been around for about 4 months, so we're obviously been in the region for a while, but it's now an opportunity to just explain what we're doing with the new entity.
Right, it's kind of branding exercise for you.
Yeah,
you're not out with the begging bowl. That's the good news.
Not at all.
No. So, like for people new to the story, let's kind of backtrack a little bit. Okay, sure. This is an entity that was spun out of a acquisition of Reunion by G Mining.
Yeah.
Right?
So really, the Greenheart team is the team that was involved at Reunion Gold with the discovery of the Oko West deposit. So that's about a 6 million ounce resource at the moment. G Mining and Reunion we basically put together, and we've left the project in the capable hands of the engineers at G Mining to now go ahead and build that. So that project, I mean, I'll have to give them a plug there. They're in the process of getting the permitting done for that at the moment. That'll be in construction mid next year and in production in a couple of years' time. So, and the reason we explain that to people is really just to show how quickly things can move. Mm-hmm. So this is a project that was first drilled end of 2020. In 38 months, we've got a PEA, and now in another 2 years, we'll have a producing mine.
I've forgotten how quickly you went through the phases there. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Right, so that's how you did it properly.
Yeah.
And so the genesis of this is you're a big exploration team, successful exploration team, and making discoveries, right? So the idea is take that know-how
and keep doing it. So we and I think it's we recognize what we're good at, and we think we're good at the exploration side, and so we're very happy to hand over Oko to the development team, and we basically spun out Greenheart Gold to continue doing the same thing. So the aim is really to start building again a portfolio of projects and to basically systematically explore those. And at the end of the day, we expect to come up with a nice discovery at the end of it.
Okay, so also I think let's say this now. You've got the money. You raised $36 million.
Yeah. So we came out of the merger with 15 million in cash. That was part of that merger transaction, and obviously G Mining is a shareholder of ours now as well. And then recently we just closed the financing for another $36 million. So we are, we've got about 50 million in the bank, and that's basically to fund the exploration work and importantly, let us do the exploration work properly, where we're not, constantly going back to the market, constantly doing this stop-start of project exploration work, but instead let us evaluate projects systematically and get to a decision point. And if, look, some of them aren't going to work out, and we'll drop them and we'll keep going and looking at other ones.
So it's great. Okay, and the key word there is systematically, right? Because you've got the money, which buys you the time and the ability to do things properly. So the systematic approach looks like what? Because you've got a lot of projects on the table at the moment.
Yeah, we're working on we have 3 projects that we're active on now. We have a few more in the pipeline as well that we've started doing a little bit of recon work on. So it's all part of the evaluation process, and I'm sure, as you know, I mean, exploration is basically about reducing down the area that you're exploring in. So we start out with wide spaced, usually geochemical sampling. We combine that with whatever geophysical surveys might be available, be it airborne magnetics or even groundwork. And then we slowly start narrowing in and infilling that work and getting to the stage where we're trenching, channel sampling, and then effectively drilling at the end of the day. So for us, that process is probably looking about a 9 to 12 month process for each project. Okay. And that'll get us to a point where we can say, okay, we really believe in this and it's going to work. Right. Or, at the end of the day, it might not, and we drop that project and we keep going to the next one. Right.
That's worked for you before. I think people like to bandy around the phrase "drill to kill," but this is even cheaper than that because you're not doing expensive drilling. You're doing the kind of the surface work and the geochem work, etc. And that why? And people, I would say, some people's eyes glaze over that point because they don't actually understand why that's important and what that actually means. So, what does all that tell you?
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about managing your risk, right, and increasing your probability of finding something. So, obviously, drilling at the end of the day is the big lie detector for testing a target, but that's the most expensive tool in your toolbox. So anything you can do before that to try and not have to waste money on a target that really doesn't have what you want to see, the better. So we start out with wide space sampling. So you look at our projects at the moment. We actually just announced some of the soil results that came out of our Mayorodam project in Suriname. So we've identified 2 very large soil anomalies there, and that's on quite wide space soil sampling. So the next phase there is to infill that to really tighten up exactly where we think the gold mineralization could be, and then we'll start actually bringing in heavy equipment. We'll start opening up some access roads, trenching. And basically trying to see what does the mineralization look like in the outcrop or subcrop that exists. It's, this is a jungle environment. You're dealing with saprolite. Everything's extremely weathered. So, it's a challenge sometimes to understand exactly what rocks you're in, and that's why at the end of the day, drilling becomes important. Yeah. But you want to drill in the right place. So all the information you can gather before you have to get that rig there makes that drilling more cost effective.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about focusing on 3 target areas initially, and what makes you think that those are the 3 out of all the land packages that you've got that you should?
Well, we have 3 projects that we're working on at the moment. So 2 in Suriname, 1 in Guyana, and then we have a couple of other areas that we started to do some initial recon on before we end up optioning the ground from the title owners. So and within those projects, we have specific prospects as well that we end up targeting. So, you might have a 100 square kilometer piece of ground, but you're actually only really exploring, 10.
But again, what's the, like, it's even an earlier process before we get on the ground. It's like, I've got this data, which suggests to me we might find, or should spend a bit of time, doing the surface work. What does that look like?
So, both countries have well-established geological surveys. I mean, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, which is the geology survey in Guyana, grew out of the British Geological Survey back in the day. And so there are regional data sets available. Those are geochemical data sets, it's geology data sets. I mean, there was a lot of mapping done across the countries by various people. And so we compile that, we compare it to the kind of structural settings that we are looking for. And we end up trying to find ground or acquire ground in those locations and then now on top of that, the other very useful data set you have in this part of the world is all the alluvial mining that goes on. So there's a lot of small scale operators that are out there who are processing alluvial material that's obviously been eroded and washed down river systems. And so that basically provides a vector back to possible sources of mineralization. So that's a great kind of overlay on top of all the other data sets we have. And quite often it's these small scale miners who hold the title, and because we've been operating in the region for quite a while, they actually come to us and say, hey, we have some interesting ground. And, I mean, we're not actually interested in the alluvial material. We're solely interested in the bedrock mineralization. So they know that as well, and all of our deals are kind of structured in a way where we say, okay, we're going to explore the ground, but in the meantime you can keep working the alluvial material. We have a good relationship with everyone, and it works well for us as well, because that way they've usually got heavy equipment on site, so we don't have to bring our heavy equipment to site. We're just basically renting the equipment from the local operators until we get to a point where we actually want to commit to large scale activities. Right.
Let's talk about this 6 to 9 month process, because I think people get so super excited when drills get taken to site and you're sort of doing the stuff they understand better, the truth machine, as it were. The next 6 to 9 months, what? Because it kind of feels like is there much news going to come out in the next 6 to 9? Because you started off, you don't want people to kind of forget it exists, right? But at the same time, you're going to give them the good stuff, but you don't want to rush into the drilling because you might be efficient.
We want to do it right. So, look, and one of the reasons to come to these kind of conferences as well is to explain, the thinking behind what we do. So we haven't come to the market to say that we have, a resource that we're going to drill tomorrow. We've come to the market to say we believe in the potential of finding major discoveries in this part of the world. We think the Guiana Shield is underexplored. There is plenty of gold, as evidenced by the alluvial mining, as evidenced by the discoveries that have been made. And comparatively, if you look at other parts of the world where you have similar origin and gold systems, this area of the world is very underexplored. So we really believe that there's still potential for those early stage, real grassroots exploration discoveries to happen. So, and we explain that to everyone. We explain this is what we're set up to do, and this is why we're actually cashed up well to do this, because, yes, it will take some time, but the reward at the end of the day of finding a completely new discovery that you paid, very little for because you're accepting all the risk that comes with it, is obviously a lot greater than if you just go in to purchase something that somebody else has already found.
Is it realistic of me as an investor to say, like, these guys did it at Reunion? I think that experience gives them the data to do it again, to make another discovery again, and therefore I'm going to trust that their process, or there's a little bit of luck involved in there too.
I think any geologist that says that there's no luck is probably lying.
Yeah.
But no, I having discoveries under your belt, I think really helps the process in making more discoveries. It understanding the geology. The more you understand the geology, the more you understand the system, and the more you actually even just know how to operate in the jungle, makes your life easier. So the fact we've done this before, we've got an experienced team. We brought over about half of the exploration team from Reunion. So we've got our core group of explorationists who know how to work in the jungle, who know how to operate, and that sets us up for success, basically.
Right. So, and is the team and the board confident? Like, you got all this money, $50 million, unusual for an explorer to have that amount of money, right? So there's no dilution coming along anytime soon. The burn rate is quite low, starting for the next 6 to 9 months, and maybe when the drills get going, it's a question of how many drills and therefore what the burn rate looks like at that point, right? Is there any part of you that says, look, at a moment in time, if we have not made a discovery on these first 3, it is just a simple case of let's move through to the next ones further down the list? Or do you think in a market like this, there's deals to be done because there's cash-starved companies who are a bit more advanced, add a little color to our story? How does that work?
Well, for us, I think we're really looking at, and we're continually assessing other project areas that we'd like to get into. Like we have quite a long list, and sometimes the deals are easy to do and they happen quickly. And sometimes they take a bit longer, and you're at the negotiating table a bit longer. So at the end of the day, we need to be, and you mentioned the cash we have, and I mean it's rare to be in this situation. We're a junior explorer with $50 million in the bank. That lets us kind of carry out this systematic exploration. It also lets us ensure we do things properly. But you're absolutely right. We need to be extremely driven to preserve that cash and only deploy it where it's successful. So, you mentioned drill rigs. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we need to drill. We need to drill early. We need to, prove what's there. But at the same time, we need to make sure we're only using that money when we're absolutely, as confident as we can be that there's something to be found.
You don't want to burn.
So it takes a bit of time.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time, and a lot of those big decisions are, you're nowhere near having to make any of those things now. And you just started executing on plan 1, right?
Well, we've been at it for 4 months now. So we will be. I mean, our intention is to be drilling. Before the end of Q1 next year, we'll have rigs turning on various projects just to test what's there. And that'll get us to a point where we can then decide: do we continue? Does this become a more advanced project, or does our focus go to somewhere else?
Right.
So look, at the end of the day, what we're explaining to people, and you mentioned the team. I mean, this really is a bet on the team. I mean, we know how to work here. We know how to make discoveries. And, obviously what we're selling to the market is that we're able to do that again.
I think sometimes the simplicity of that message is lost somewhat. and that's what I am betting on. I'm betting on the fact that you've spent 6 years, 4 years, learning how to do business in country, learning from the data which you've gathered in that time, and understanding that whilst nothing's ever a complete, cookie cutter per se, enough of that is repeatable. To get
well, exactly. It's obviously not just myself. So I've been operating in Guyana since 2019, but our executive chairman, for example, David Fennell, he's been in country for the last 40 years. So the relationships and understanding that he has about how you could do business, how you actually get things done is tremendous. And that obviously helps us a lot and gives us an advantage in not just acquiring ground, but also ensuring we have permits that we require. And ensuring that we have that relationship and the reputation that we operate well.
No, I like the fact that you're not learning on my dime.
No.
That was someone else's problem. Brilliant to see you over here in London and telling this story. I think it's a brand awareness exercise, and I do believe in the simplicity of this story. So, folks, if you haven't yet, Do have a look at this company. One of the better stories out there. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
See you. Cheers.
Good.